Of all the good things and bad things the internet has brought us, one thing we're celebrating is the renaissance in satire and comedy online. No website represents that renaissance better than the Babylon Bee. Here's some recent headlines they've run. Quote, Democrats grasping at straws to impeach Trump, now regret banning straws. Or this, El Paso man comes down from insane acid trip where he hallucinated that he ran for president. Or how about this one? CNN attacks Babylon Bee. The internet is only big enough for one fake news site. Those headlines are all amusing, but they're also satirical. It's obvious they are. They're not real. But as the left has grown steadily more radical, it's also lost its sense of humor completely, in case you haven't noticed, and become far more tyrannical. CNN bullying high schoolers from Kentucky, that's fine. A website poking fun at America's most powerful media figures must be destroyed. And so the left has set out to crush the Babylon Bee. The New York Times suggested that when the right pokes fun at the left, it's not satire, it's, quote, deceit. A CNN reporter recently accused Babylon Bee of spreading, quote, clickbait and misinformation. In other words, Facebook better censor it, and fast. Seth Dillon is the CEO of the Babylon Bee, and we're happy to have him on tonight. Seth, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you suppose, by the way, I think your site is hilarious, and a lot of people think that. It's doing well.
Thank you.
CNN doesn't think it's funny at all, and they're trying to get Facebook to ban you. Why are they doing that?
Everything is irony. You said that earlier, right? I mean, how funny is it that, CNN is coming after us for spreading disinformation? I find that kind of rich.
That did occur to me, actually. And you're right. It's hilarious on one level, but on another, it's ominous. The idea that a quote news organization could try and put you out of business because it doesn't like your jokes. I mean, that's not a world you want to live in, is it?
Well, you had that clip of Adam Carolla earlier saying, the pendulum, if it's going to swing back the other way, that could be driven by, humor and comedy. If that's true and they see it as a threat and, we're aiming at the wrong targets and they don't like that, personally, they like to smear and denigrate people they disagree with, right? Right. And so while they're not actively and openly calling for us to be deplatformed, it's implicit when they say these guys are spreading misinformation. They just call themselves a satire site to get around Facebook's rules and things like that. Those suggestions, I mean, what's the solution there? If that's what we're really doing, if it's true, if they're not spreading fake news about us and they're really being honest, then Facebook should shut us down, right? I mean, that would be the proper response to a site that's just misinforming people on purpose. So that seems to be their goal, and they just don't like the targets we're aiming at. I mean,
it's clearly true. They're building the predicate for censorship. They're essentially saying that you shouldn't be allowed to continue doing what you're doing. And the baffling thing to me is there are a lot of hard-edged sites on the internet, but there's a kind of sweetness to, I would say, the Babylon Bee. It's not a cruel site at all. You always sort of pull back a little bit at the end, I think, as a reader of it. It's kind of the last site that you'd think the left would want to squelch because, there are other targets. What is it about you that they really don't like?
That's a good question. I mean, we do. The interesting thing is that we don't just target the wrong targets, right? I think one of the things that's really refreshing about the Babylon Bee is that there's a lot of self-deprecating humor. We poke at Trump a lot. The right is not off limits. We're a Christian satire site. Christians aren't off limits. Right. We often, we throw things with a projector up on the wall that are our own issues that we try to deal with and say, are we comfortable with this? It's very interesting to us that rather than recognizing the fact that, we kind of hit all sides, we're pretty balanced with it. And like you said, we're not vicious. At all. What's the real reason for trying to take us out?
Are you worried about it?
I'm not. I'm not, because every single time this type of thing happens, and it's happened repeatedly, it happens with Snopes. We've had a couple of different CNN personalities now come out and call us a fake satire site. We're not really doing satire. They put satire in scare quotes, right?
A fake satire
I'm not worried about it because
that's so meta. I don't even know what that means. What does it mean to be a fake satire site?
Right. It's redundant. So
yeah, right.
Now, I mean, I'm not worried about it because the response we get is incredible. I mean, look, I wouldn't be talking to you if they weren't doing this. Our fans are really loyal. They rally behind us. We get a lot of support. And the pushback is really tremendous. And so I think it backfires on them. And it only amplifies our voice when they try to silence it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. I mean, I must get a text a day of one of your headlines. So Godspeed. I think you're doing a great thing. Making America a little bit lighter is really a virtuous thing to do, in my opinion. So thank you for doing it.
All right. Thanks for having me on.